The final protocol. The stars looked cold from the observation deck of the UNDF Harbinger. Commander Elena Frost stared out at the vast emptiness, her reflection ghosted against the reinforced glass. The ship hummed with a quiet intensity around her, the crew moving with practiced precision. But there was something else beneath the routine, a tension Elena hadn't felt since the Battle of Proxima Centauri. "Commander," Lieutenant Reeves approached, his face grim. "The Council's transmission is ready." Elena nodded once, her shoulders squaring. "Thank you, Lieutenant." She made her way through the corridors of humanity's most advanced warship, passing crew members who straightened as she walked by. Not out of protocol, but respect. They all knew what had happened at Nova Colony. They all knew why they were here. The briefing room was dark save for the holographic projection in the center. 7 faces looked out at her, the United Nations Defense Force High Council, their expressions varying from rage to sorrow to cold calculation. "Commander Frost," Admiral Chen began, her voice steady despite the dark circles under her eyes. "The death toll on Nova Colony has reached final count. 43,817 civilians. No survivors." Elena's jaw tightened. She had expected this, but hearing it confirmed made her stomach turn. Nova Colony had been a research outpost and farming settlement. Scientists, families, children, all gone. "The Krell Imperium denies responsibility," General Williams continued, his weathered face tight with anger. "They claim it was a rogue faction, not sanctioned by their high command. They've used that excuse 3 times now," Elena replied, her voice low but steady. "First at Ganymede Station, then Europa Outpost, now Nova. Each attack more devastating than the last. Which is why we've made our decision," Admiral Chen said. "The Security Council voted unanimously an hour ago. Protocol Omega has been authorized." The room went silent. Protocol Omega wasn't just the last resort, it was the final warning. A declaration that the next hostile act would result in the complete extinction of the aggressor species. It had never been implemented before. "The Harbinger will deliver the message," Admiral Chen continued. "Your ship carries the necessary capabilities should the Krell test our resolve." Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature regulation. The capabilities the Admiral referred to was Project Sunfall, a weapon of such devastating power that most of humanity's leadership didn't know it existed. A weapon designed not just to defeat an enemy, but to erase them from existence. "I understand, Admiral," Elena replied, her voice level despite the weight settling on her shoulders. "Commander Frost," General Williams's voice softened slightly, "we know your sister was stationed on Nova." Elena's expression didn't change, but her hand tightened on the edge of the console. Dr. Maya Frost had been leading agricultural research on Nova Colony, developing crops that could grow in the harsh conditions of frontier worlds. They hadn't spoken in months due to their busy schedules, but Elena had planned to visit after this tour. "All the more reason I should be the one to deliver this message," she replied. The holograms flickered in silent consideration before Admiral Chen nodded. "The coordinates of the nearest Krell diplomatic vessel have been transmitted to your navigation officer. Deliver the message, Commander. Make them understand what's at stake." "And if they don't?" Elena asked. "Then humanity will do what it must to survive," the Admiral answered. "Good luck, Commander. Council out." The holograms vanished, leaving Elena alone in the dimly lit room. She stood motionless for several minutes, the weight of 43,000 lives, and potentially billions more settling onto her shoulders. The Harbinger cut through space like a knife, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to standard detection methods. Elena studied the tactical display showing the Krell vessel. The Shining Truth, according to intelligence, a diplomatic cruiser with moderate defensive capabilities, currently holding position near the Oort cloud, presumably monitoring human traffic. "Weapons status?" Elena asked, her voice carrying across the bridge. "All systems ready, Commander," Tactical Officer Dias responded. Standard armaments at full capacity. Sunfall is operational. The hesitation before that final word was slight but noticeable. The crew knew they carried something terrible aboard, though only Alina and Chief Engineer Hammond knew exactly what Sunfall could do. Communications, prepare to transmit on all frequencies, including the Krell diplomatic channels. Lieutenant Park, bring us out of stealth 1,000 kilometers from their position. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, the atmosphere on the bridge thick with anticipation. Alina took her command chair, back straight, face composed despite the storm raging inside her. Exiting stealth in 3, 2, 1, Park announced. The Harbinger became visible to Krell sensors, a predator suddenly appearing in their midst. The reaction was immediate. The Krell vessel's energy signature spiked as defensive systems activated. They're powering weapons, Diaz reported. Hold position, Alina ordered. Let them see we're not making aggressive moves. Open the channel. The main view screen shifted to show the interior of the Krell vessel. The aliens were reptilian in appearance, with sleek scaled skin and vertical pupils and eyes that reflected light like polished obsidian. The one in the center wore the elaborate collar that designated a fleet commander. This is Commander Alina Frost of the United Nations Defense Force vessel Harbinger, she began, her voice clear and unwavering. I bring a message from the people of Earth and all human colonies. The Krell commander's inner eyelids flickered. A sign of either agitation or interest. Intelligence was still debating which. I am Fleet Commander Severax of the Krell Imperium. State your purpose for this unexpected approach. Alina stood, hands clasped behind her back, and looked directly at the alien. 3 days ago, Nova Colony was destroyed. 43,817 humans, researchers, farmers, and their families were wiped out without warning or provocation. As we have communicated to your diplomatic corps, the Imperium regrets this unauthorized action by rogue elements. This is the third such unauthorized action in as many months. Alina cut him off, something she knew the status-conscious Krell found deeply offensive. Each time, your government has denied responsibility while doing nothing to prevent the next attack. Severax's scales darkened slightly, a physiological response indicating anger. Commander, these accusations are not why I'm here, Alina continued. I'm here to deliver humanity's final warning. She paused, making sure she had the aliens' full attention. The United Nations Security Council has authorized Protocol Omega. This is not a negotiation or a threat. It is a promise. One more attack on any human settlement, one more human life taken by Krell weapons, and your entire species will cease to exist. The silence that followed was profound. The Krell commander stared, inner eyelids blinking rapidly now. You cannot expect us to believe humans possess such capability, he finally said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. Believe what you wish, Alina replied coldly. But know that we have watched our people die while offering peace. We have extended diplomacy while burying our dead. That ends today. One more strike, and we wipe you from history. She signaled for the transmission to end, but before it cut off, Severax leaned forward. Commander, perhaps you should know. The screen went dark. They're scanning us, Diaz reported immediately. Deep penetration scans. Let them, Alina said. They won't detect sunfall. It doesn't register on any known scanning technology. The minutes ticked by intense silence as the Krell vessel continued its scans. Then, unexpectedly, a series of smaller craft emerged from the diplomatic vessel. 5 ships detaching from the Krell cruiser, Park announced. Scout-class vessels, minimal weaponry. They're surrounding us in a standard Krell intimidation formation, Diaz added. Alina remained standing, watching as the smaller vessels positioned themselves around the Harbinger. Maintain defensive stance. No aggressive actions. The communication system chimed again. Alina nodded, and Severax's image reappeared on screen. Commander Frost. The Krell's voice had changed, become more formal. Your message has been received and will be transmitted to the Imperial Council. However, you should know that events have been set in motion that cannot be easily stopped. A chill ran down Elena's spine. Explain. The attacks your people have suffered were indeed unauthorized, but not by rogue elements within our military, Severax said. There is a faction within our society that believes humans represent an existential threat to Krell dominance. They call themselves the Purifiers, and you've done nothing to stop them. Elena's voice was dangerously quiet. The Purifiers have infiltrated the highest levels of our government, Severax replied. Many in the Imperial Council privately support their actions while publicly denying involvement. Then your entire government is complicit in genocide. Perhaps, the Krell acknowledge. But there is something else you should know. The Purifiers have launched their final assault. A fleet of stealth destroyers is already on its way to your homeworld. Extinction event. A harbinger tore through space at speeds that stressed even its advanced engine systems. On the bridge, Commander Elena Frost studied the tactical display with unwavering focus. The holographic projection showed Earth's defense grid, a network of satellites, stations, and patrol vessels that had never been tested against a full-scale invasion. Time to intercept, Elena asked, her voice tight. 6 hours until we reach Earth orbit, Lieutenant Park replied. Based on Severax's intelligence, the Krell fleet will arrive in approximately 4 hours. 4 hours. 4 hours before humanity faced potential extinction. Status of Earth's defenses. Chief Tactical Officer Dias gestured at the display. UNDF has mobilized everything they have. Orbital platforms are at maximum readiness. Planetary shields at full power. But, Commander, he hesitated, if the Krell are using stealth destroyers, our early warning systems might not detect them until they're already in weapons range. Elena nodded grimly. The Krell stealth technology was advanced, not as sophisticated as the Harbingers, but effective enough to bypass standard detection grids. By the time Earth's defenses spotted the threat, it might already be too late. Lieutenant Reeves, open a secure channel to Admiral Chen. The communication officer worked quickly, and moments later, the Admiral's face appeared on screen. She looked older than she had just days ago, the weight of impending doom etched into the lines around her eyes. Commander Frost, I've reviewed the intelligence from the Krell diplomat. Our analysts believe it's credible. We're 4 hours behind them, Admiral. The Harbinger alone won't be enough to turn the tide. We've deployed everything we have, Chen replied. Every ship, every weapon. But I need to know, is Sunfall ready? Elena glanced at Chief Engineer Hammond, who gave a short nod. Yes, Admiral. But using it near Earth would have consequences. What kind of consequences? The Admiral's voice sharpened. Sunfall doesn't just destroy its target, Admiral. It creates a cascading quantum disruption. If deployed within a solar system, the risk of collateral damage is significant. We could lose the moon, possibly more. Admiral Chen closed her eyes briefly. How close would you need to be to deploy it effectively? Based on simulations, we need to isolate the Krell fleet and engage Sunfall at a minimum safe distance of 1 AU from any planetary body we want to preserve. Then that's what we'll do, Chen decided. Commander Frost, your new orders are to intercept the Krell fleet before they reach Earth's defensive perimeter. Lure them away if possible. If not, she took a deep breath. You are authorized to deploy Sunfall at your discretion. Understood, Admiral. Elena. Chen's formality dropped for a moment. If this goes wrong. It won't. Elena cut in. We'll stop them. The transmission ended, and Elena turned to her crew. Their faces reflected the gravity of their mission, not just to protect Earth, but potentially to commit an act that would echo through human history forever. New course, she ordered. We're going to intercept the Krell fleet while they're still in deep space. Commander, Lieutenant Park looked confused. How? We're 4 hours behind them. They don't know we're coming, Elena replied. And they don't know about the Callisto shortcut. Understanding dawned on the navigator's face. The Callisto route was a closely guarded secret, a subspace corridor discovered during the early exploration days, unstable and dangerous, but capable of cutting their travel time by more than half. That passage hasn't been successfully navigated by a vessel of this size, Park warned. Then we'll be the first, Elena said with finality. Plot the course. The Harbinger shuddered violently as it emerged from the Callisto passage, the ship's structure groaning under stresses it was never designed to endure. Damage report, Elena called out, steadying herself against her command chair. Multiple systems on emergency power, Engineer Hammond reported from his station. Hull integrity at 89%. We'll live, but I wouldn't recommend doing that again anytime soon. Tactical. Diaz was already hunched over his console, scanning. Commander, I have them. Krell fleet detected. Bearing 047 Mark 230, distance 30 million kilometers and closing on Earth. The view screen shifted to show a formation of ships, sleek, darkened vessels with the distinctive angular design of Krell military craft. Elena counted 12 destroyers, 3 heavy cruisers, and 1 massive ship at the center of the formation. Analysis of the command ship. It's like nothing we've encountered before, Diaz replied, his voice tense. Energy readings are off the charts. Weapon systems I don't even recognize. This isn't just a warship. It's a planet killer. Elena studied the formation, her mind racing through tactical scenarios. The Harbinger was powerful, but not enough to take on an entire fleet. They needed a plan. Are they aware of us? Negative. Their sensors are focused toward Earth. They haven't detected us yet. Elena nodded. Good. Open a secure channel to Earth Command, maximum encryption. When Admiral Chen appeared on screen, Elena quickly outlined her plan. It was audacious, perhaps even foolhardy, but it was their best chance. You want to bluff them? Chen asked incredulously. Not exactly, Elena replied. We're going to offer them a demonstration. After receiving reluctant approval, Elena ordered the Harbinger to a position directly in the Krell fleet's path. They would be spotted soon, but that was part of the plan. Prepare to broadcast on all frequencies, she instructed. And Hammond, bring Sunfall to stage 1 readiness. The engineer paled slightly but nodded, entering a complex sequence into his console. Somewhere deep in the Harbinger's core, machinery that had never been activated began to hum to life. They've spotted us, Diaz announced. Krell fleet is altering course to intercept. Hold position, Elena ordered. Let them come to us. Minutes later, the Krell fleet had surrounded the Harbinger, weapons charged and aimed at the seemingly suicidal human vessel. The communication system chimed, and Elena nodded to Reeves. The view screen filled with the image of a Krell unlike any Elena had seen before. Its scales were pale, almost white, and elaborate cybernetic implants curved around its skull and down its neck. Human vessel. The Krell spoke, its voice carrying an artificial harmonic that made Elena's skin crawl. You have positioned yourself to die first. An honorable but futile gesture. I am Commander Elena Frost of the UNDF Harbinger, she replied, standing tall. And you are violating sovereign human space with hostile intent. Turn your fleet around immediately. The Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. I am High Purifier Xorthan. I do not come to conquer, human. I come to cleanse. Your species is an infection in the galaxy, spreading unchecked. We have studied your history, your nature. You cannot help but destroy everything you touch. We've studied you too, Elena countered. And we know what the purifiers really fear. Not what humanity is, but what we might become. You fear that one day we'll surpass you. Xorthan's cybernetic eyes pulsed with cold light. Irrelevant. You will not live long enough to fulfill that potential. Your world burns today. Before you make that mistake, Elena said calmly, I want you to observe something. She nodded to Hammond. On a small, previously unmapped asteroid 500,000 kilometers from their position, a pinpoint of light suddenly appeared. It wasn't an explosion, not exactly. It was as if a tiny piece of reality itself had been erased, leaving nothing behind but a spreading ripple of distortion. What you just witnessed was a demonstration of Project Sunfall at 5% capacity, Elena explained as the Krell leader stared at the sensor readings. The device aboard this ship is capable of initiating a quantum cascade failure that will erase your entire species from existence. Impossible, Sorthen hissed, but uncertainty had crept into its voice. The coordinates of every Krell world, colony, and outpost have been programmed into the device. Elena continued. If activated, the quantum disruption will propagate through subspace, targeting Krell genetic patterns specifically. Your species will be unwritten from the universe. It wasn't entirely true. Sunfall couldn't target specific genetics, but it could create a catastrophic chain reaction through subspace. The lie was necessary, the bluff their only hope. You would not dare, Sorthen said. Such a weapon violates every law of civilized space. We're not feeling particularly civilized after what you did to Nova Colony, Elena replied coldly. 43,000 lives. My sister was among them. For a long moment, silence hung between them. Elena could feel the eyes of her crew on her back, the weight of humanity's fate balancing on this exchange. Then, unexpectedly, another Krell stepped into view beside Sorthen. Elena recognized Severax, the diplomat from before. Commander Frost speaks the truth, High Purifier, Severax said. I have confirmed their capability. This weapon is real. Sorthen turned to the diplomat, rage evident in every line of its body. You dare countermand the purification. I dare to prevent the extinction of our people, Severax replied. The humans have shown us their ultimate weapon. If we strike Earth, they will retaliate, and the Krell Imperium will cease to exist. Traitor. Sorthen snarled, reaching for a weapon. What happened next unfolded in seconds. Severax moved with surprising speed, grappling with the High Purifier. Other Krell appeared in the frame, some fighting alongside Severax, others with Sorthen. The transmission cut out abruptly. Krell ships are powering weapons, Dias shouted. Shields to maximum, Elena ordered. Evasive maneuvers. The Harbinger dove and rolled as energy beams lanced through space where it had been moments before. On the tactical display, Elena could see that the Krell fleet had broken formation, some vessels firing on the Harbinger, others seemingly engaging each other. They're fighting amongst themselves, Park realized aloud. Elena had no time to consider the implications as the ship rocked under a direct hit. Target the primary aggressor vessels only, she commanded. Precision strikes, disable, don't destroy. The battle that followed was chaotic and brutal. The Harbinger darted between the much larger Krell ships, its advanced weapons striking with surgical precision at engines and weapon systems. 3 Krell destroyers quickly went dark, their power cores disabled by the Harbinger's attacks. But they couldn't keep it up forever. After a punishing exchange that left the Harbinger's shields below 30%, Elena knew they were running out of options. Hammond, Sunfall status, she asked, gripping her armrest as another blast rocked the ship. Ready for full deployment, the engineer replied grimly. But Commander, if we use it here. I know the consequences, Elena cut him off. She stared at the tactical display, at the coordinates of Earth millions of kilometers away, at the blinking icon representing the weapon that could save humanity, but at an unthinkable cost. Her finger hovered over the authorization control, the weight of 2 species' futures pressing down on her. The faces of Nova Colony's dead, her sister's face, flashed through her mind. Then something unexpected happened. The Krell command ship, which had remained largely inactive during the battle, suddenly began broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Fleet Commander Severax of the Imperial vessel Eternal Glory. The familiar voice rang out. High Purifier Sorthen has been removed from command. All vessels are ordered to stand down immediately. On screen, the massive Krell ships began powering down their weapons one by one. Some hesitated, but as the command was repeated with increasing authority, even the most reluctant vessels eventually complied. "Commander Frost," Sevrax's voice came through on a direct channel. "The purifiers have been contained. I request permission to approach and discuss terms." Elena exchanged glances with her officers, reading the mixture of relief and suspicion on their faces that matched her own. "Permission granted," she said finally, "but approach slowly and without escorts." As the Krell command ship maneuvered closer, Elena ordered Hammond to deactivate Sunfall, though it remained ready for rapid redeployment if needed. An hour later, Elena stood in the Harbinger's conference room facing Sevrax across the table. The Krell diplomat looked battle-worn, a fresh scar visible across his scaled neck. "The purifiers have controlled our government from the shadows for decades," Sevrax explained. "Many of us have fought against their influence, but never so openly until today. Your demonstration of power, and your restraint in using it, proved what I have long argued. Humans are not the mindless destroyers the purifiers claimed." "And yet 43,000 humans are dead," Elena replied coldly. "Yes," Sevrax acknowledged, "a crime for which there can be no adequate recompense, but perhaps there can be justice. The surviving purifiers will face trial before both our peoples." Elena studied the alien carefully. "And what happens now?" "Now we rebuild," Sevrax said simply. "Those of us who oppose the purifiers have taken control of the government. We offer an immediate cessation of hostilities and open diplomatic channels." "Just like that?" "No," the Krell replied. "Trust will take time. But today you had the power to erase my species and chose not to use it. That is a beginning." Elena thought of Sunfall, still hidden in the Harbinger's core, a weapon created from desperation and fear, much like the purifiers themselves had been born from the Krell's fear of humanity. Perhaps there was a lesson there. "I'll communicate your proposal to Earth Command," she said finally. "But know this, we meant what we said. If your people ever strike at us again, then humanity would be justified in its response." Sevrax finished for her. "But I believe we have both seen enough of extinction's shadow for one lifetime." As the Krell diplomat departed, Elena returned to the observation deck, staring out at the stars that no longer looked quite so cold. The Harbinger would return to Earth as a herald not of war, but of an uneasy peace. Humanity had stood at the precipice of committing an unforgivable act and stepped back. Her sister would have approved, Elena thought. Maya had always believed in finding common ground, in building rather than destroying. In her memory, perhaps something better could grow from this day of almost extinction. "Commander," Lieutenant Park's voice came over the comm. "Earth is hailing us. They're asking for a status report." Elena took a deep breath, her gaze still fixed on the distant stars. "Tell them threat neutralized. We're coming home." But in the back of her mind, she knew that Sunfall would remain, locked away but never forgotten. Humanity's final warning to any who would threaten their existence. They had chosen peace today, but they would always be ready to protect their own. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, that message would spread from world to world, species to species. Cross humanity again, and you'll cease to exist.